guys, welcome back to our biochemistry series of We.The.Doctors. I am Omkar and today we will be discussing classification of carbohydrates, basically what carbohydrates are and what are their subtypes. So let's begin. Traditionally, carbohydrates were known to be just hydrates of carbons having formula CnH2nOn. But there are some carbohydrates which do not satisfy this formula. For example, deoxyribose, which is a very important component of DNA as we all know. But because there is one oxygen less in this compound, the formula becomes On-1, which is not satisfying this formula. So being a carbohydrate also, it is not satisfying this definition. Similarly, rhamnohexose is also a carbohydrate, but it doesn't fit into this formula. Now, there are some compounds which are not carbohydrates, but still they fit into this formula. For example, lactic acid and acetic acid, they are not carbohydrates, but they satisfy this formula. So we had these flaws earlier, but our scientists came up with a new definition, that is, carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or compounds which produce them on hydrolysis. Now, what does that mean? If at all a compound is having lots of hydroxyl groups plus any of the two functional groups, either aldehyde or ketone, then it's a carbohydrate. Or if a compound appears to be having less hydroxyl groups and no aldehyde or ketone, but on hydrolysis they produce such compounds which are having lots of hydroxyl groups and any one of the functional group, aldehyde or ketone, then also they are regarded as carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates can be of two types: simple and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are basic carbohydrates. They are present in just units. They can be 1 unit or 2 units combined with a glycosidic bond. They're normally present in almost every sweet, like drinks and candies, cookies. Also, simple sugars are found in natural sugars, in naturally available foods like fruits, vegetables, milk, and honey. Whereas complex carbohydrates are a big chain of units. They are very large structures. They are basically polymers of the simple carbohydrates, where all the units are joined together with glycosidic bonds. Now, these two categories can also be further classified based on the number of sugar units. So, if at all we have 1 unit, then we will call it as monosaccharides. Mono means one and saccharides means sugar. Monosaccharides are the simplest group of carbohydrates because we cannot further hydrolyze it. These are the last hydrolyzed forms. If we break monosaccharides, we can't get a carbohydrate. We will be getting something different, but that's not a carbohydrate. Monosaccharides are the last carbohydrates which we can get after hydrolysis of compounds. So basically they're the simplest carbohydrates and hence they are even referred as simple sugars. Then we have disaccharides where 2 units are combined via glycosidic bond. Examples are sucrose, or normal table sugar formed of glucose plus fructose, then lactose, glucose plus galactose, right? And then maltose, glucose plus glucose, and so on. Then we have oligosaccharides. So oligosaccharides means there will be 2 to 10 monosaccharides joined by glycosidic linkages, where oligo means few. So few sugars. So few sugar units will be repeated in them, right? If we have two sugar units, we will be calling it as disaccharide. If we have 3 units, then trisaccharides. 4 units, tetrasaccharides, and so on. But here's the situation is little bit dicey for disaccharides because we had already classified them in simple sugars, but they're oligosaccharides as well. So I would like to draw a small arrow from oligosaccharides towards this disaccharides here. Our classification table looks a little bit different, no doubt, but conceptually it is correct. Just keep trusting me, okay? Now, these monosaccharides and oligosaccharides are sweet to taste and crystalline in character, and they are soluble in water. So they are commonly regarded as sugars. And then we have polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are polymers of monosaccharides, but of high molecular weight. Here the monomers are not like 2 to 10 like in oligosaccharides what we saw. Here the units are repeated in hundreds, in thousands, in millions. So polysaccharides are big polymers of monosaccharides having high molecular weight. They are tasteless, that's why they are called as non-sugars. Oligo and monosaccharides were sweet in taste, so they were regarded as sugars. And polysaccharides forms colloids with water. What are colloids? Colloids are gel-like or mucus-like substances. They are non-crystalline substances which are insoluble in water. Yet particles do not settle. They are dispersed throughout the solution. So insoluble particles dispersed throughout the solution is what is a colloid. Whereas in oligo and monosaccharides what we saw, they were soluble in water. They were crystalline, right? Then the monomeric units are held together by glycosidic bonds. So if at all we have two monosaccharides and suppose we have done condensation, we have removed water among these two hydroxyl groups, so we get a glycosidic bond between them. Now if we have two glucose molecules, we will be getting a disaccharide which is maltose, right? And if we keep on adding the glucose one by one with glycosidic bonds, we will be having a big polymer, right? Then polysaccharides can exist in linear as well as in branched chain polymer. So here this point becomes important because proteins and nucleic acid don't show this property. Only polysaccharides have that privilege of existing in branched chain polymers. Branching is not seen in proteins and nucleic acids. But why is branching seen in polysaccharides? Because polysaccharides have lots of hydroxyl groups and glycosidic bonds can be formed in any of the hydroxyl group. That's why. Now, do you know we can further classify this monosaccharides also? That too, we have two classifications. So firstly, we can classify it on the basis of functional groups. If it will be having aldehyde, then aldose, and if ketone, then ketose. Easy, right? Then on the basis of number of carbons, we can have 3 carbon triose, 4 carbon tetrose, 5 carbon pentose, hexose, heptose. Similarly, polysaccharides can also be classified into homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. Now, homo are those polysaccharides which on hydrolysis yields only one type of monosaccharides. For example, if we take glycogen, it is formed of only glucose. So when we hydrolyze it, we will get only glucose. It is formed of only one type of monosaccharide, that is glucose. But if at all we take glycosaminoglycan, they are formed of uronic acid plus amino sugars. So when we hydrolyze them, we'll be getting both of these monomers, uronic acid and amino sugars. So that's why hetero, different units are involved here. That's why heteropolysaccharides. And in homopolysaccharides, only one unit is involved. On homo and heteropolysaccharides, I will be making a separate video because it's a very vast topic. So we will be discussing about them in our next video. For now, let's end here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you understood the concepts well, please hit the like button below. Subscribe to our channel We.The.Doctors. Share it with your friends. And comment below if you have any doubt or how much you liked the video. Your likes and comments means a lot to us. So thank you, viewers.